Yeah, so Flakey's absolutely.
Well, a very good afternoon again, ladies and gentlemen, from the Geelong Revival. Sitting next to me, the two well-known guys, I guess, out of the Davidson dynasty. We've got Chris and Richard, who are going to give us a little bit of an insight of their many, many years around the motor racing scene. And what about Dad on the poster there in the old Ferrari? Wonderful to see. What do you think of that, Richard?
Oh, look, it's just an amazing event down here, and the fact that it, I guess, went off the scene for so many years, and this is my first time down here, thanks to Chris, who hounded me for the last 12 months to come.
He's good at that.
And, it just goes back to when motorsport was fun, and we are just having an absolute ball down here. And look, Chris and I have promised ourselves 35 years ago that we'd do some racing together, and, then I guess careers and kids and family and all those sort of things tend to interfere with your motor racing aspirations when you're a young bloke. But 4 weeks ago this weekend, we both went over to Silverstone and raced in a huge Formula Ford event over there called the Walter Hayes Trophy. And that was just, an opportunity of a lifetime, an amazing thing to do as two brothers. Very, very special. And we've re-emerged the Acura Australia team stable logo that Lex started in the years prior to his death with some very, very significant plans to effectively use it as a tool to assist the next generation of drivers to come through the field. And although we're sort of doing it in the historic area and very much driven by Chris, I've got to say, we're endeavouring to give some young people a bit of a go that perhaps don't have the limitless budgets or the big open checkbooks. So we're having a lot of fun doing that as well.
And of course, Chris is very well behind the young VHRR junior academy that's coming through. And how's that actually going along, Chris?
Oh, look, I think VHRR have to be commended, Simo, to start that initiative. Ignore youth at your peril, I think's the saying. And so, that's a fantastic initiative. And when I heard about it, I thought I'd like to contribute in some way. And I have another Formula Ford, which, there's 5 young men in the program have been working on
They're
rebuilding
breeding in his workshop.
Those young guys all come out of motorsport families, and they sort of run their own teams. So it's been very successful, but it was probably a very ambitious program to start with. And we're having to make some alterations to it as we go. And there's something happening here today, which is part of the alteration. There's a young lady having her first ever drive in a Formula Ford today, Jess Bell. And Jess will do some drives in that car next year as part of contributing back to the sport. Our father might have been very well known, but I've got to tell you, our mother was a very, very significant person. And a very significant person in female in Australian motorsport. And I felt not only with the youth program, I thought that there was the opportunity to contribute back, to encourage female participation. So at Phillip Island next year, we'll have my daughter Claire driving her car, Jess Bell driving another one of my cars, and we have a young Irish girl, Jennifer Mullen, coming down to actually drive my car.
Fantastic, yeah.
And we've actually got 2 female mechanics as well.
Wow.
And we want to show young women out there.
We're sure to be a popular garage.
Yes.
And I believe also a record number of Formula Fords already entered for the March the 17th event down at Phillip Island. That's just fantastic.
Yeah, I think Formula Ford's been under a little bit of pressure, and it's up to us to do our job well. The best way we can show what the formula's about is have good quality cars, large fields of good quality cars and good quality racing.
Yes.
And not only are we going to have, I think, 55 cars down there, but we've got some excellent people coming from overseas as well. The feedback that we got when we were at Silverstone about what's happening down here is terrific. And with the 50th anniversary of Formula Ford coming up in a couple of years' time,
Fabulous,
we're looking to build a really big event out of that.
I did happen to notice you wandering through the pitch, trying to encourage a couple of old Formula Ford guys to get back into it. Rex Broadbent was one that I saw you talking to.
Yeah, well, Rex was is a terrific driver, and really loves his motorsport. I raced against him in Formula Ford many, many years ago, and followed his career. He's won the Targa Tasmania on so many occasions. And he's the sort of guy we'd love to see back in Formula Ford here. But I think that we also need to be encouraging the younger guys to get into the post-historic cars. lots of post-historic cars around that are very, very viable. And I think it's up to us to try and ensure that there's a platform for these guys to go into, and that's another thing we'll be trying to do.
Absolutely. And another run to go today. We've got
Yes,
another run
there's a lot of family pride at stake here, and I'm running a bad last in the family stakes at the moment, so I've just thrown the toolbox at mine. I'm not quite sure what you can do in a quarter mile, but
from what I could find out, I think you've got to beat Claire as far as
yeah, I know. Well, as long as I've got to beat this bloke more than anything else.
Well, he got me at Silverstone, and Rich did the most wonderful job, especially in the wet. And I was really struggling. I'm just a little bigger than him, and I couldn't fit in the car, and I was having all sorts of dramas. And we were in different groups and different heats and different everything else. And lo and behold, when the finals came round, who was beside each other on the grid? You wouldn't believe it.
You couldn't script it,
and
could you really?
There was a couple of side-by-sides into Cops, which is quite a heart-in-the-mouth sort of corner. And at the end of the weekend, I think Rich was the clear winner. He beat me every time, but I'm delighted to say there was 0.03 of a second between us on our lap time. So we were very pleased with that. Had a ball. Yeah.
And Formula 5000, that's not with you anymore, is that?
No, I've sold my Lola, which I think the time was right. I was still walking on both legs and and alive to tell the tale.
Yes.
And my eldest son Alex had a couple of races in it earlier this year and just absolutely dominated in it. And it was one of those situations where someone came up to me after the race he did in July at Eastern Creek, where he'd beaten Tom Tweedy, who's sort of been the king of Formula 5000, particularly at Eastern Creek, which is his home track, and absolutely dominated Tom. And this guy came up and said, well, we've been looking to get into 5000, and we specifically want a car that we know can beat Tom Tweedy, and that's it, and I want the car.
Right.
How much do you want? It's sort of a nice way to be selling, actually, on the front foot. So, look, it was time to go. We had a lot of fun with it. It wasn't a car that I ever owned or drove myself in the era. My brother John did, but so I never really had planned to hold on to it long term. A lot of money tied up in it, and this has now freed up some funds to come and do some fun motor racing like we're doing now.
Well,
we're just having a blast.
And it's good to see this brotherly love sort of in the motorsport. It's not always the easiest thing to have, but I guess you get on reasonably well. You must.
Yeah, look, good competitive spirit, but I think historic racing allows you to have especially in Formula 4, it's still very competitive. I align it a little bit to my other love in life, which is rugby union. And it's ferocious on the pitch, but has great camaraderie off the pitch. And Formula 4 down here in particular, taking a lot of trouble doing that. And just back on the 5000, it was the Berryman family that bought the car.
Oh, yes.
So very well known people in historic racing. And the funny irony is that Claire's car we actually purchased from Tim Berryman. So we seem to be playing musical cars with the Berrymans a little bit. So it's great to see that car with such a great history going back into someone who's such a significant family in historic racing as well.
Yes, so. They have a good collection of lovely motor cars in there.
No, it's great to see it, first of all, stay in Australia and go to a great home. So no, we're delighted at that. I can't wait to see young Tim have a run in it. I believe he's broken his foot or something, fell off a motorbike. So I think his debut is well. Most people break their feet in Lola Formula 5000s. He's done it before he gets into it.
He's got the Lola limp before he's actually driven one. So.
All right. Well, thanks very much, boys, for coming on and
Ron.
just sparing a bit of time for us. I know we've got to run very, very shortly. So Ron Simmons signing off from the Geelong Revival for 2015.
Check. Hey, righto, ladies and gentlemen. Matt Mingay always putting on a show just for something different. That was part of his repertoire to throw it down the road.
Oh, yeah, you can't be perfect all the time, and I'll tell you what, it's like going to the Speedway and not having a crash. We all like to see a little bit of an ups-to-daisy, and there, Adrian.
Sure did. Now Matt Mingay gets it on down the main straightaway on the back wheel for the fans, balancing on the back crash bar. Remember to make some noise, clap, cheer, and whistle. That's how he operates. That's his fuel to get it on for you fans. There's a bit of can going on. Matt Mingay from the Hot Wheels Stunt team all the way from the Gold Coast of Australia.
I like his spiky helmet, Adrian. I think I should get something like that for home.
Yeah, I'd say you'd look cool getting around with that, but, you know. Whoa, here we go in the house, ladies and gentlemen. Make some noise! The old step over onto the front wheel. You see, that's what he likes to hear. Clear, cheer, clap, and whistle. Ladies and gentlemen, it's push-up time. Throw in a couple of exercises if you want, Matt Mingay.
Now, back like the obvious there, man, but I know what it means to go that next level, and that is fantastic. The balance of a cat.
The balance of a cat as he gets right up on the back crash bar, ladies and gentlemen. What's he got now? Have we seen flames yet? Is there flames on that bike? Does it blow flames? We want to see some flames, Matt Mingay. Get the flames on! Woo! Round and round she goes. Where she stops, nobody knows. I think he's naturally more every start. That's down the other end of the circuit there now. Well, it's gone. He's been doing motorcycle stunts now for some 14 years. He gets paid to not just do it in Australia, they'll take him to New Zealand, just about everywhere. There's usually a 2 or 3 man stunt team, but he also has the stunt utes, and they do synchronised drift, synchronised circles, another thing. And Matt Mingay, man of many talents, not just riding a motorbike. He's a little bit of a stand-up. What would you call that one? A tail burnout, maybe, Kelly?
Yeah, no, I think we'll call that a bum tap into a spin a la Flambeau.
Difficulty level of 9.5.
We'll give that an 8. I think we'll see some 9s later on.
Geez, you're a harsh judge, mate.
Yeah, no, transitions is where it's at. So if you go into stunt, into a fluid move into another stunt, that's where the difference is. He's quite the master at it.
Indeed he is. There he goes back down the straightaway here, ladies and gentlemen. Matt Mingay makes some noise. He comes down. Show your appreciation. Here we go. One more time with a... Whoa! What is going on here?
I think
It's got no respect for that bike. Flame time.
That's what I was talking about there, Moz. That's pretty. And he done it effortless.
Mate, that's just me riding into work each morning. That's how we go, across the Tasman Bridge. That going on. As I said before, Matt Mingay, he has a special spot in his toolbox for his brain. He's got a little flip-top piano hinge. Pulls it out, puts it in there. He'll be back in 5 minutes. Goes and does his stunt. He's got to get back within 5 minutes or it's overdone. Like a steak. So that's about it. So we're going to be coming back to some more action very shortly. Looking down here, we've got a, looks like we're in our 4th run now while we're away. Motorbikes have been on. We missed them, unfortunately, but no doubt there have been some cracking times from the motorbikes.
Yeah, look, we were away and we did out some prizes for a car show. Fantastic. They've got some static muscle cars up the way there at the western end, and we get to see it all unfold on the track down here at the end here.
Wonder if we saw the battle between Kaiser and Malloy or someone, the other guy. We're going out at hammer and tong there in the last section of the bike, so it'll be interesting to see who came out on top. Red flag time. That means the track's going hot, ladies and gentlemen, so we're about to get underway with round number 4 here for the Geelong Revival Motorsport Festival 2015. Check out the bike times. They're not up at the moment, but John Kaiser, winner from last year. I wonder if we go back-to-back this year, but we'll have to wait and see. And the crowd's still pretty big here, up on the hill and down in the pit. So we've just been down to Steam Packet Gardens. And a fair crowd down there and some fantastic bits of machinery on display. Motorbikes, cars, and just about everything you can imagine. The Shannon's Car Show. Worth checking out down there at Steam Packet Gardens. As the quickest car on the track today, the big VF SS Commodore Supercharged is underway. Oh, he's had to get out of the throttle. She got real busy off the line on him. And unfortunately,
Adrian, I think he lost his bottle there, man.
I think what nitrous bottle? The nitrous ran out.
No, I think she got a little bit squirrely. He saw that grey granite on the left-hand side and thought, don't want to bend any panels.
Okay, his quickest man, I think it was 11.0 at the moment. So see if someone can knock that off here in the final run. The big Tirana was up against him. Next up, the Toyota 86, the HPP 86. It's got the Harrop Supercharger and inlet manifold on it, pushing out some 340 horsepower from the flat 4 Subaru engine. The whole supercharger is part of the inlet manifold.
Now, for a small capacity car, Adrian, that is fairly swift.
Yeah, I was surprised, but I've seen quite a few of those modified at World Time Attack and other places, and none of them have had the power of that thing. That's pretty tidy indeed. Okay, the Model A on the line, the Model A Ford. Lights up the rear tyre. Tiny little supercharger hanging out the right-hand side of the engine bay. Just give it a couple of pounds of boost down through the draw through. The car be sitting on top of the supercharger. And that's Rod Prickett there in the Model A Coupe. The only car in the class, vintage sports and racing pre-1931. Across the line there with a 19.8 time for Rod Prickett. Moore did the 12.9, so after backing out of it. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, next up the, Cosworth-powered Mark 1 Escort in the blue colour. This is one of the quickest cars here today in the top three. Not going to be a quick time. 2 hits on the hard cut limiter there as he came off the line. And a little Ford Escort.
Now again, we've got Grandma's Featherbed with an engine here. Adrian, you know a little bit more about this than I.
This is the Oldsmobile special, the Red Path Oldsmobile. You'll be very surprised how quick this thing is. I don't think Oldsmobile doing 150 odd kilometres an hour down that straightaway there in that. It just does not look quite right to me. Probably as mad as Matt Mingay. See if we can get a time this time through. No time showing up. Time seemed to have gone AWOL at the moment. So back to the Austin A30 on the start line. The little yellow lemon, if you like, machine. The Datsun 2-litre fuel-injected mechanical McGee injection. It is McGee injection. That's under the bonnet there with a close ratio Datsun S200 gearbox on the back of it. Tiny little car with a big wide stance. And goes through, bed goes through there at a 14.8. A 13.5 it was for Redpath in the double bed with a wheel and an engine on it. The Redpath special, Redpath Oldsmobile.
Red flag situation at the minute there, Adrian. I've seen the red light go on, so we've got a little issue up the other end of the course, and we'll have a little.
Oh, gee, last car through there was the double bed on wheels, so I'm not quite sure that is a good thing or not. We won't want to be landing in the barriers, you'd say, in that machine. The Redpath special, Bill Redpath at the wheel of it, and something a little bit different, that's for sure. So a slight red light situation. We'll be back with the action very shortly, ladies and gentlemen. Yeah, ladies and gentlemen, there's a small hold up. There's a car that could get the braking, lock the rear end and just touch the barrier lightly, and the flatbed's on the way to pick it up. So as soon as the flatbed picks it up, we'll be back underway. So stand by. Meanwhile, we have a lost child, and anyone that's a parent knows that that's a worst nightmare. Actually gives me goosebumps thinking about it. So we've got an announcement for a lost child. Okay, so we've got a lost child. It's Miles Griggs. Miles Griggs. If anyone knows Miles Griggs or Miles Griggs' parents, or if you know the phone number, is at the Steam Packet Gardens at the Volunteers Hub at the Steam Packet Gardens. Mind your ears for a minute. We're going to turn up the PA so the people up here can hear it. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, we have a lost child for the guys up there on the hill. A lost child by the name of Miles Griggs. He's at the Volunteers tent at Steam Packet Gardens, and he's looking for his mum and dad. So if you know Miles Griggs, his parents, their phone number, someone please let them know that Miles Griggs has been found. He's at the Volunteers tent at Steam Packet Gardens. Thank you very much. Check. Whoa. Righto fans, we're back underway again with round number 4 here for the Geelong Revival 2015. On the start line is the Elfin. That's the Elfin Streamliner of Dan Jeffries. Streamliner indeed is very low and sleek, and Jeffries goes through and times. Yes, we go. 17.32 for Jeffrey. That's the Austin 7 there. Austin Renault, in fact. So Renault engine and Austin chassis, I'd say, of Lloyd Hocking. A classic machine. Hocking making his way down to the finish line now in the Austin. Waiting for a time to come up, but nothing to show. There we go, 20.1. Not setting the world on fire, but obviously having a great time out there, Lloyd Hocking. Fred Brock up next in the MGTC Special. A very famous surname there of Brock. He's running in the...
Well, good afternoon again, my friends down here at the Geelong Revival. Don Kinsey is my name, and next to me is the man who knows all about Jaguars, Mike Roddy. Before I ask Mike, though, some of you won't know what a Jaguar is. It's a big cat over there in South America and South Africa, but the real Jaguars started before the Second World War. There were SS-90s and SS-100s, and then there was the Mark IV, and then of later years, the C-type, the B-type, and the E-type. Mike has one of these famous Jaguars, and he's the man. If you have a Jaguar, you should talk to Mike about anything Jaguar. Mike, where did you get started in this Jaguar business?
Well, my dad had a 3.5 litre 1948
Beautiful.
Jaguar when I was a child, and we were all often looking at it and gazing on with wonderment when he lifted the bonnet, and a passion developed fairly quickly, and being as he had an engineering background, and natural for me to get involved with the cars, I think.
They were magnificent machinery, though, weren't they? The C-type that won Le Mans, I think, in the 50s, the very early 50s, and then the D-type, which was the ultimate Jaguar, to me anyway, in what, 3 years in a row?
Yeah, they were unbeatable. It's just when they brought in a capacity limit, probably to nobble the Jaguars, which we're used to sometimes, but they just were unstoppable.
Those single or twin overhead cam engines, I should say. What's the secret of them? They're so simple and powerful.
Well, the secret of it was they were designed during the war years in the fire watching session at Browns Lane in Coventry, when the top engineers used to do the fire watching sessions during the Blitz of England by the Germans. They designed that engine then at night when they were all standing guard at the factory. And some of the world's best engineers were involved, including one of the Bentley boys that was involved in building the Bentley in the 30s or late 20s. One of those engineers come to work for Sir William Lyons, and that indelible fingerprint of quality and engineering integrity is there from the beginning.
Well, those Jaguars, I think, were the first to use a disc brake, were they not?
Yeah.
Le Mans, and they beat the Mercedes in that way, didn't they?
Yeah, they built the disc brake with Dunlop, and Jaguar did the pioneering work, and Norman Jewis, the chief test driver, did all the driving. And I think it's one of the things he was most proud of as his achievements, is developing the disc brake with Jaguar cars. And that's a synonymous thing with Jaguars, because Jaguar have often been a big innovator in the 50s, 60s and 70s in terms of extremely high levels of technology available to the public at an affordable price.
Now tell us about the car you've got it down here this weekend. It's the ex-Walkinshaw, and for those of you who don't know what Walkinshaw means, I'm sure Mike will tell us.
Well, Tom Walkinshaw was a very stubborn Scotsman, which many of them are, son of a market gardener, and very interested in motor racing, and a very accomplished driver as well. But he could run a mean business. At one stage he had the finest motor racing concern on earth, and he won many championships in various cars, and then he had this idea to generate more work for English peoples and English manufacturers, and he said, why can't we use a Jaguar? To the Jaguar management, why can't we use the XJS in the new Group A series? And they looked at it and said, well, you're on your own, you've got to prove you can be successful before you can call it a Jaguar race car. And so they gave him a bit of money on the side and a car, and he went out and started winning races virtually from the very first time he turned a wheel, and proved how good the car was. And it's interesting that the XJS is a more successful race car than any other production Jaguar, like more successful than an E-Type, for example. A lot of people don't realise that.
What did Walkinshaw do with the car that other people didn't or couldn't?
Well, he could just identify a weakness, which was perhaps not enough rubber. So we had Jaguar manufacture special bodies where we could get more rubber under. He could identify we had too much weight, so he got out as many of the heavyweight components as possible and got it down to the minimum homologated weight in 1983 for Group A racing. So he got over 300 kilograms out of the cars, and identified the transmission weakness. So he got the 5-speed Getrag racing transmission installed and homologated, and then of course the engine was improved for reliability, and prodigious power was developed. So much so that BMW eventually retired from racing because they couldn't catch these big cats.
Tell us about the time they came to Bathurst with the big XJS.
Well, the big XJS was at the end of its Group A career, probably, an homologation by 1985, because they hadn't re-homologated it because they were going to Le Mans. So, which is a great pity, because if they had, they could have raced on virtually toward the right through Group A period, but it wasn't to be, because I sort of believe that they would have been competitive right up to the end of Group A, but that's another story, I guess. And they brought 3 cars out and brought out a very professional setup, and probably the most professional dynamic team that they've ever seen at Bathurst, and showed basically the locals a different way of doing things, really.
Well, tell us about the race itself. What happened?
Well, the race itself was interesting. Tom's car was the one that had all the development, all the big cash put into it. It had the best of the best. John Goss's car, which was mine, was the one that had won Spa. It had done a lot of work, won a lot of races, but Tom wanted to win it in his car. So our car arrived on a tandem trailer. Tom sat in the transporter.
Yeah.
And let's just give you an idea of the emphasis that was within the team. And but it wasn't the second cousin by any stretch, because it ended up setting fastest lap of the race anyway, even with a broken seat, as it turned out. So it was still a very, very fast car, and won so many races in its day that it was always a podium contender whenever they turned the key on that car.
And you've still got it here down?
Still got it
in the
here.
pits?
Yeah, she's sitting here. She's a great joy to own. I've had it. I'm probably the longest owner of it, over 10 years now.
That car, you mentioned John Goss, by the way. John Goss was an Australian who's the only man, I believe, even now, to win Bathurst and the Australian Grand Prix in 1 year, the same year.
Yeah.
Not a bad effort, was it?
Not bad. I mean, people would really best to remember how skillful he is behind the wheel, because I've followed him around Eastern Creek and in his own race car, and followed him in this number 10 Jaguar, and watching him flick the car around is like a maestro behind the wheel. It's a joy to watch.
Fantastic. Now tell us about the book. He's put a book in here, and I think it's for sale, but have a look at it.
Got a
Bring
book
it here in
here,
front of you. There
it's
you go.
just a book on the development of the XJS for racing, from the beginning to the end. It's very involved. It's not really a coffee table book. If you're into technicalities, it's a good book.
And you've got it down on your pit here, haven't
yeah,
you?
yeah, we've got a few for sale, so we'll try and sell a few. And
Well, if you want to know the story of Jaguar, whether it's in the book form, but the real form is the man here, Mike Roddy.
well, yeah, I've been running a Jaguar business for 30 years, so
Well, he checked my Jaguar out. I've got an old XJ6, and I said, I'm worried about the oil pressure. He said, no worries. And he undid a little screw on the engine, put a measuring system on it. She's right, put it back again. It's been right for about 15 years now. Fantastic.
yeah, no, I send a few cars overseas to the UK, and sometimes they stay there. So not Coles to Newcastle occasionally, and there's a chance I'll take this over if I can find the time and money, perhaps next year or the year after, and race it over there. But
The more customers you get, the more money. Mike Roddy, down in Cheltenham. Look for him on the YouTube.
yeah, and
whatever.
the
Got a Facebook?
internet, no Facebook.
There you
but
go. Mike,
we are on the internet.
good to see you, mate. Thanks for bringing the
Thanks.
Jaguar down.
Thanks for your
All the best.
hospitality.
Good.
Thank you very much.
Still time to go down here at Eastern Beach at Geelong in the Revival. It's the moment at 3:30. Racing finishes at 4, but you can come and look at the cars in the pits, including the XJS of Mike Roddy. See you later.
Righto, thanks for that, guys. And Don is such a wealth of information, Adrian, and he's pretty jam-packed full of knowledge. And so we are back at the start line, but we've still got a missing child, and Adrian will just come back to us with that information very shortly.
Yeah, ladies and gentlemen, we are still looking for the parents of Miles. I forgot his surname. Young Miles is looking for his mum and dad. He's currently at the volunteers tent at Steam Packet Gardens. So if anyone knows Miles or his parents, please let him know that he's at the Steam Packet Gardens volunteers tent, and he'd really like to catch up with his mum and dad. I guess his mum and dad wouldn't mind catching up with him either, Kelly. You being a dad, that awful feeling when you don't know where your child is, panic sets in. You know, it's not like your keys. You know, it's a child. You can't sort of go real losing them, can you?
No, that's exactly right. But at least we found the child. We just need to find the parents. That's better than the other way around, Mozza.
Indeed, as the Falcon Sprint makes its way down the track again. What do you know about Falcon Sprints, Kelly?
Well, I know Jim Richards used to campaign one, or probably still does, and they sort of look a little bit like in some of the top turret sections of our local XP and XMs, but of course there's a few different body panels that go to the front and rear.
So they're an American-built car.
Yeah, for sure, and they're a car that's got, I believe, some aluminium panels, and we see a lot of those guys in some of that historical racing.
Yeah, the big car number 294 on the circuit now. That's the Hillman Hunter with a Holden 6 in the engine bay. The big old Holden 6. That's a sound that, like no other, the Holden 6, isn't it?
Yeah, you got a roll cage in that one. It looks to me that's set up a little bit for some hill climb action. But what we've got on the start line at the minute, Mozza, is the big angry Tirana, and it's looking pretty wild.
Yeah, Richard Fenari is the entrance. The Holden Tirana 383 Chev. Shane Blakenborough. Let's loose. This will be quick, ladies and gentlemen. The quickest man on the track is going up against the VFSS. What's Blakesbury got first this time as he goes across the strike? Whoa, Blakesborough. 11.6. It's not as quick as he's been. 11.0 he had to beat. Blakesborough couldn't quite get it done. So, wow, that's going to have the pressure on the big VFSS later on.
And we've got another Holden lined up, ready to rock and roll, and here it goes.
Okay, Kyle Grigg. Is it not Miles? It's Kyle Grigg. Kyle Grigg. Anyone out there in Fantown know Kyle Grigg or his parents? Kyle Grigg is the child we're looking for, or parents we're looking for. The owners of Kyle Grigg. Wouldn't mind finding the owner of these flies. The big V12 XJS Jaguar there. Not quite as angry as Mike Roddy's V12 Jaguar. We'll see again later on. So Kyle Grigg is still looking for his parents. If his parents are looking for him, the volunteers tent at Steam Packet Gardens. What's a Steam Packet anyway?
Not real sure, Adrian, but it seems to have a lovely garden down there and a sound stage. So if you want something different a little bit, a few static displays, get down there and check that out.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, the Ford Mustang of Gary Anderson.
Not as loud as some, Mozza, but I tell you what, it still seems like it's putting plenty of mumbo down.
Gary Anderson, of course, world darts champion, or is that a different Gary Anderson?
I don't think it's the same guy, but I'll back-to-back check that.
Anderson threw it at 15.5, which is not bad from a whole lot of car. The big Mustang on the line. What do you reckon about this? It reminds me a bit of Smokey and the Bandit, but that was a Firebird.
Yeah, definitely, Adrian. I like a little bit of American muscle, and that one sounds a little bit like two thongs clapping. I don't think there'll be a bird left of the trees after that's gone past.
Yeah, the twin system there without a balance pipe, it tends to sound a little bit like that. And that's the big Chevy Camaro.
Now, this car's got 4 doors. You've got a call for 4 doors at the drifting. I don't reckon you're brave enough to probably lay it down.
You're correct, yes. No, I am not brave enough to say what 4 doors is for. But that'd be more happy at the Power Cruise Power Cook competition. Plenty of smoke from the rear tyres there of the big Monaro, 4-door Monaro.
Yeah, not a lot of traction being put down there, and he drew a nice set of number 11s as he left the line.
That's Slav Velikovic. Slav goes across the line there with a 13.8 by the looks of it, 13.8, which is not too bad. Don't forget Kyle Grigg is the child we're looking for. Kyle Grigg, oh sorry, not the child, the parents we're looking for. Sounds like we might know someone that knows them, so if someone knows them and got their phone number.
No. And on the line, we've got a big Ford, and I'm going to call it Yellow Peril. What do you think, Adrian?
Definitely yellow. I'm going to give it Tweety Bird yellow. That one, it's the GT 351 XB 4-door. The big Cleveland under the bonnet there using 5.8 litres off the line. And frying those rear tyres. You can smell rubber again. Love the smell of rubber in the morning, even though it's the afternoon. It's the American muscle section, this, isn't it, really? It's the production touring cars, 1940 to 1979. That's full of Mustangs, Camaros. A little bit ginger off the line there, but got it moving quite well before he fed the berries right into it.
No, once he got that car going, the horsepower took over, and that was hurtling down the track quite nicely.
That was our spender there, goes through the 15-2. Blakesborough once again the quickest in this group, in this session, I should say.
And another Mustang, another pony car, and what have we got there? Adam Siruka.
So that's why I didn't try and say it. I thought I might get you to say it this time.
Yeah, I've seen that. That's a bit sly. Now, this thing looks a little bit like a XP number, and let us know a little bit about this vehicle.
Well, this is what they call the Mercury Custom. I think, is it a Ford Mercury? Anyone here know? Is it a Ford Mercury? Ford Mercury Comet Custom. Pretty good.
That's another pony car there, Adrian, another big Mustang, and they're quite popular.
Which is one there, looks very period there in the colours and the paintwork. The white period correct, as they say, and a 14.0. This one's got a moustache, Kelly. Remember, you look at the front, it's got a little like a sweeping sort of moustache across the front.
Now, this is a beautiful motor car. It's a 69 Camaro, and it looks absolutely wonderful.
I'm going one of my top three cars of the weekend right there. Anthony Cott, it is aboard that one. CO double.
Speaking of one-wheelers, this guy is the king of the single-wheelers, and hopefully, being his last run, he might really turn it on for the crowd.
Back end. Drag car, but hey.
Yep.
Interesting fact there is when one wheel's spinning and the other one's not, it's doing twice the speed as the other wheel. So
we're just going to have another.
That was a Shelby Mustang GT350 of Carl Thomas.
Ladies and gentlemen, we have an urgent announcement. We have located a missing child. The child's name is Kyle Gregg. Kyle is 10 or 11 years old. He's wearing a white and a red striped t-shirt, and he has a red helmet on and a Razor scooter. Now, Kyle has lost his parents, and we'd like the volunteer hub located on Steam Packet Lawn next to the wharf shed. So let me just repeat that, an urgent announcement. Could the parents of Kyle Gregg, who's 10 or 11 years old, he's wearing a red and white striped shirt, he has a helmet on, he's got a Razor scooter, he's 10 or 11 years old, at the volunteer hub, which is located beside him. Thank you very much.
That's pretty good. That's a big chirp in a second. The front wheels lifted right up, and that's going to be a quick time. Leon Henderson, local lad, son of Warwick Henderson, and across the strike he goes. This should be a fairly swift time. A 13-1. That's pretty good from the old Holden. Martin time, James Bond.
Yeah, no, I think Bondi's in this one, mate.
More worried about the oil down button. That's Paul aboard the Aston Martin. Paul Freestone here at his FJ yesterday. Long-time competitor in Tasmania and Austin Healy with the six-cylinder. And here he is in the Aston Martin. I believe he's got a Freestone 60s Dyna. Be a pretty cool place to check out. Paul and Christine Freestone are almost family down in Tasmania with Target Tasmania. They've been back that many times. This is the DB4 Aston Martin. Bit of a hold up, but the track is still green. Not quite sure what the hold up is at the moment. Maybe we're going to run the cars back down the hill, I'd guess. How trusting's Geelong BMW, eh? Just handing out the car to the crew from Race Solutions, new M4. What do we reckon about the M4? Is it a good thing? I like it. What do you reckon, Kelly?
So small hold up here, ladies and gentlemen, while we reload, we reset, and we get a fresh bunch of cars come out and get ready to launch themselves down this quarter mile with a bend. We've loved this event. She's a pretty cool event. We love our motorsport in Tasmania. And what do you think about
Mate, I love it here in. And some of you guys might remember the church nightclub for the go-kart racing out at the Corio. And I just love it here in Geelong. Lyric nightclub. Wow, we definitely spend a penny or two there indeed in our time. So we're not far away from getting green again as the course car. And we go hot track, green light.
Yes, we're not no time, but I really do like Geelong as well. I love this foreshore, and that Ferris wheel for me was a highlight. probably a couple in the foreshore. Righto, we've got the first car about to go off the line here, and it's the Austin, isn't it? Aston
Martin. That's Paul Freestone there, letting loose in the big DB4. That's Corrie in the Torrey.
Yeah, no, Corrie in the Torrey, and it ships along quite nicely. It'll be interesting to see what time he does here this afternoon.
That was the LJ Tirana. Of course, they made famous the GTR XU1 edition, and Corrie goes a 14.7. Very strong at Bathurst, of course, where they cut their teeth and really shocked the crowd that a six-cylinder could knock off V8s back in the day. That's Ernie Corrie driving that one. That's the MGA of Richie Redpath. I don't know if he's related to the Redpath Oldsmobile Special. Bill, that's could be a relation there. So Richie there in the MGA.
On the line now, we've got Colonel Mustard. It's a big XY GT, and I expect this to make lots of noise, put plenty of horsepower down.
I just swallowed a fly. That's far from ideal. Larson there in the XY GT winds it up down the quarter mile. It's a sweet sounding machine, that very well balanced and high revving engine.
Yeah, sounds like that's a big dollar engine. It's revving very sweetly with a 13.1.
That's pretty swift. Here we go with the EH Holden up next. This is driven by Steve Watt. Okay, gentlemen, back with a 45 car, another XU1 LJ. Lots of camber on this one, Kelly. I'm tipping it does a bit of circuit racing. Notice that one had the triple Webbers on it as well. These days, for a set of triple Webbers on manifolds, you don't get much change out of $1,500. I've even seen them up to $2,500, so getting pretty hard to get that high performance stuff for the old Holden 6. Ian Watt now in the 2.5 Triumph. Six-cylinder in those. They had a twin SUs hanging off the side of it. We had one for a Carnacross car, and man, it was a quick piece of gear. Independent back end, so it handles very nicely too. Barry Lyon there in a 302 Ford XY GT. It says 302 on the program, but it should be a 351, I would have thought. No time coming up for that, but now we move back to the start line now in the number 82 Mustang. And that is a lot of revs for a Cleveland. I'm not sure if that might have been.
Hey folks, how you going? Shane Jacobson here. I'm sitting here with stuntman extraordinaire, Mr. Matt Mingay, mate. Welcome to our little show here.
Thank you very much, mate. Good to be here.
Mate, everyone that's sitting on trackside now looking at you has been seeing you do some of your magic. They may not recognise your face necessarily, but a lot of people do know you. You know, the man with, 1.67 million Facebook followers.
Oh, look, I don't keep count, but yeah,
I do, because you're more famous than me, you bastard. But mate, you and me raced together in Polaris buggies. So for those that don't know, Polaris have these Razor buggies, Razor 1000s, and we get round and race those together.
Oh, right. We usually you do tricks, we race. You do cartwheels.
I knew I'd regret bringing Matt in for an interview. So he wins, I spin. So when he's on a roll, I'm just busy trying to roll the thing. So we do. Well, I can't say we race them together because you're always in front of me. And at that point, we're not racing together.
Oh no! Sometimes you get a bit the whole shot in front of me, and I have to try and find a way. You make that buggy very wide for me to get around. That's for sure.
I make everything wide, the shirt included. But mate, you're doing stunt riding here today. You and TJ, and you guys perform all over Australia. I mean, how many events would you do a year on the bikes alone?
Yeah, well, obviously it's my first year at Geelong, so for starters, stoked to be here. I've seen it the last couple of years on social media, and yeah, I got the hit up to come down and perform for everyone here, and it's been fantastic. It's such a great little event.
Oh, it's a fantastic event, and it's not only for the locals, but it's also for the kind of motoring community. We do love it, and the fact that there's bikes here, which is, well, you're going to be happy no matter what. It's a great segue here, because so for those that don't know, you race stadium trucks, and the first time I saw those, Clipsal Adelaide, and I'm not saying they did outshine the V8 supercar racing, but
I think everybody else is saying
SHIT,
that.
it was close, wasn't it? It was as close as shit is to a swear word to being better than it. But it was, so you race those, you do stunts on bikes, but you've got drift utes.
Yeah,
what else? Polaris buggies.
So basically, I do about 35 to 40 events a year, and my year's just getting busier and busier every year. So which is great. I love being busy. So yeah, we do stunts on the Harley Davidson. That's probably my most busiest vehicle that I've got. Then we've got the drift utes, and then I've got, like you said, I just started doing stadium truck racing this year, which is just absolutely exploded. It's came into Clipsal as a support category, and I think everybody was absolutely blown away by it.
Absolutely, we were.
It's the first time I've seen so many people on the fences and the grandstands and the corporate boxes, all standing.
Everyone at the windows.
Every single person that was there. So
for those that don't know, the stadium trucks, and for those that didn't see it, these are inconceivably overpowered trucks. They're used.
Don't handle, don't brake, don't steer. They just do massive jumps.
So these are ones that drive on tarmac circuits, like a circuit, but they jump, and one of them famously rolled and then got back across the finish line and got back on its wheels and kept going. I mean, but they are seemingly unbreakable. I understand they're almost undrivable. But the unbreakable component of them is what makes them so thrilling, to be honest.
They're awesome. They're a concept by Robbie Gordon, an American. He's built like 20 of them, and they're meant for stadium tracks, off-road. So he came up with the concept of making alloy ramps, steel ramps, and putting them on like Indianapolis and American tracks, and it went bananas and kind of blew up the last couple of years. And like I said, he came to Clipsal this year for the V8s, and now, like next year, there's going to be 5 rounds in Australia at all the V8 rounds.
Oh, there you go. So
and
I didn't know that.
So I've been lucky enough. I've got the call up to do the whole series next year.
Right.
So I'm doing 5 in America and 5 in Australia.
Are you?
Yeah.
That's great. So, mate, bikes, the Drift Utes, I know Top Gear Festival, you used to be up there with us. Put on a show there, and you'd be out there on your bikes. I mean, you're as busy as, well, to use the line I did in the film once, you're as busy as a one-armed bricklayer in Baghdad. Because you were on the bikes, and then you go and park the bikes, and then get straight to the Utes and go and do a fantastic drift display, which was kind of almost, it's different than the drifting that people think, I think of when I look at racing, because you're trying to entertain grandstands.
Right,
but you guys almost do a dance or a waltz with cars.
Yeah, pretty well. My drift partner Kent, we know each other. We know the body language of the cars, what they're going to do. We don't have a script. Everyone thinks we've got a script of what we're going to do, but we can just feed off each other, and we do rings around each other and 360s, and just skimming each other. Mind you, the skimming, we hit each other quite a fair bit, which the crowd love it. They go bananas. It's like when I threw the bike away before. At the front, I dropped it. It doesn't happen very often, but when it happens, you got to play it up. The crowd love it. crowd want to see me crash.
Yeah.
Simple as that. They're mean, nasty people.
It's horrible to confess, but you don't want to see people crash, but when something does go wrong, you kind of feel like you've witnessed the moment when the wheels fell off.
Yeah,
If not
that's right.
literally. I don't know what it is about motorsport enthusiasts that kind of get some kind of giggle out of that.
Yeah, I know.
But,
It's-
you know, if
we're
someone,
all the same.
mate, but having said that, if a model tripped over on a catwalk, it's not just motorsport. If I furfed a line on stage in a theatre show, the crowd would go, I was there.
Totally.
It's called human nature and it's a horrible thing.
Mate, you're dead right.
And mate, Hot Wheels obviously blazoned on you because you're the Hot Wheels man. And they, have you got any cars of you yet?
Oh, look, we haven't. Yeah, like I said, Hot Wheels came on board 2 years ago, and I approached them and kind of said, you know, this is what I do. You know, I showed them my following, and I cover so many areas of motorsport, entertainment, and action sports. You know, and virtually, like you said, 1.7 million followers. I'm the most followed motorsport athlete in Australia at the moment, and that's over Mark Webber and Chad Reed and, you know, the V8 drivers. So
and myself as,
and
as,
yourself,
as a
of course,
motorsport icon.
Yeah.
I reckon the only chance I've got of actually stepping up into a bigger game than mine, and you know I do Polaris buggies and Bathurst and a bit of Australian Rally Championship. I reckon the only way I'll ever get a shot in the main game is I'll be the ramp they actually use for you guys in the stadium
I
trucks.
want to get you in a stadium truck.
I want to get
so
in
good.
one.
That would be so good.
Well, you can just, before we say goodbye at this interview, feel free just to say down the barrel there that that's a commitment you're willing to make. That
Absolutely. I'm more than happy to get him in a truck. I got my own truck, so let's go.
I'm in a stadium
But the deal is, the hard part is, you got to fit in the window, which is.
There's footage out there of me getting out of a Polaris race buggy, and the truth is they're actually not that hard. Of all the cars you've got to get in and out of, they're actually not that hard. But somehow I look like I was being reborn backwards. It was, it didn't quite work. But anyway, it never looks pretty when I'm doing it, no matter what it is I'm doing.
Mental picture there.
Don't want to see that. Well, Matt, people, if they want to catch up on the stuff you're doing, because you are all over the place, your Facebook site, what is that?
Yeah, just on my Facebook site, Matty Mingay, or my Instagram, Matt Mingay, and like my whole life is on there virtually, and it's every weekend I've got an event, and I'm off to the V8s on Wednesday to do the Today Show, and then race the stadium trucks Friday, Saturday, Sunday. So yeah, it's pretty action packed. I haven't had a weekend off in nearly 3 months. Yeah. So it's just been dark, and I've just come back from Vegas racing the trucks over there. So it's pretty entertaining pages. So jump on and follow me.
But the truth is, that's why I always checking out your page, because literally just about every week you're up to something completely new. And you're in a different state, in a different vehicle, doing similar stuff, but always mixing it up. So, mate, always a pleasure to see you, buddy.
My pleasure too.
And great to have you down here. And if the crowd have loved seeing Matty, and I just know they would, to be honest, I bet they want to see more. Make sure you let the organisers know that you loved it and you want to see more of it. Well, I hope you're all still having a good time. We've got to thank the big man upstairs. It didn't rain today. It was actually rain was forecast. Actually, I think we were talking last night. We thought it was going to rain, and now it's not. So that's been a great day. So thanks to the big man upstairs. If you're on the hills, if you're in the VIP tents, if you're anywhere on the circuit, hope you're having a great day. There's still more fun to be had. So we're not over yet. It's not all over bar the shouting. Continue to shout if you're having a good time. You've been watching the 2015 Geelong Revival Motoring Festival.
Yeah, Troy Kelly fires up the VP Commodore, the big mobile Peter Brock, John Cleland back car. As I said before, the car that actually dropped the tail shaft out of it down Conrod Straight back when it raced at Bathurst and finished their event for him right there. And then the witty little Irish, little Scotsman, I should say, John Cleland. Good to have him out here. Haven't seen him out for a lot of years now, but here we go, the John Goss XB. A lot of noise from a whole lot of car there, the Aussie muscle car. You can see that one and the Mobile Commodore on display at the Warrnambool Motorable Museum. So will be opening very shortly. That's their new home. The Jensen Interceptor up next.
Now that thing Adrian strikes me as I'd want to break the rear windscreen out of.
You know, you're dead right. Yes, you're dead right. I think the one, they did break one in the one that runs in Targa, and I believe it was a $5,000 exercise.
Car number 54 lining up as we speak. A beautiful little silk red court two-door.
So down here is a Group C touring car, the little Escort. So it must have done some racing in its time. That's in the touring car class. So too is the big VC Commodore. Alan Brown, Tony Edmondson recar-backed machine, driven today by Lindsay Woolard. This is a sweet sounding V8. Whoa! We've dropped the diff or dropped the gearbox. I'd guess a gearbox at this stage, and I don't see any sauce on the road, so it's not dropping sauce like a Dagwood dog. So it must have ripped some teeth off a gear, I'm tipping.
Yeah,
Didn't seem to come from the back end. It sounded like it was more like further up the drivetrain.
Yeah, still rolling through. He's made the finish, but definitely something went awry there at about the 100-foot mark.
You know, for a 308 or a Holden motor, that is revving and sounding just excellent. And Woolard there still goes for a 22nd, even though he had power on for a quarter of the circuit. So unfortunate there, but I'd say we've had a mechanical failure, but the right time of the day because it's final run time.
Just got a little lull in proceedings here while we reset, reload, and stack a few more cars down behind the start line and get them ready to shoot down the track. Course car out on track here at the minute, so that means it's not too far before we get a green light, and we got some more cars coming onto the track.
Quickest car on the circuit today, the VFSS Supercharged Commodore. See if he's going to beat his 11.0 and dip into 10s. He does! Ladies and gentlemen, we have a 10.74 for Conlon there in the VFSS. Wow, we finally dipped into the 10s at the end of the weekend. I sort of thought we might have seen a 9 this weekend, but a 10 on the final run. That's amazing stuff indeed from the big VFSS. Supercharged Toyota 86 there, 340 horsepower plus from the Harrop Supercharger. Little flat 4, 2-litre Subaru engine under the bonnet. Car number 188 there, Michael Killingsworth in the Super 7-2, the Lotus Super 7. Up Stephen Fryer in the MRC Lotus T23. Oh, gee, I tell you what, that is getting it on pretty well. That's a fast little car. Let's see what he's got down the other end at the MRC Lotus T23 of Stephen Fryer. Should be a reasonable time. It is a 13.2. That's not too bad from a little 4-cylinder. Philip Carter there in the Elfin Formula 2. Struggling for a tune all day, but he might have got it right that one. It seemed to rev right out in the rev range and sounded quite sweet there, the little Elfin. The hairdresser in a hurry there, the MX-5 Mazda. Another good handling car, very low centre of gravity. Speaking of low, the back end of the next car is very low indeed. The Turbo 6 Falcon, it's got the late model Falcon Turbo BA, BF style engine in it with a massive turbo the size of a 20-litre drum sitting off the side of it. And it's built for doing drifting, ladies and gentlemen, and burnouts. running plenty of boost, as they say. Special historic Formula 3 there. It looked like a 4K or 3K Corolla motor with twin Webbers hanging off it in the back of it there, and that runs down on a 15.5. That's pretty stout indeed. Still no one's getting near Conlon's time of 10.74. That's amazing in that big supercharged VF. Now go back to the start line and the big Jaguar. This is a classic piece of history here. Hey, ladies and gentlemen, the Formula Fords coming up next. The Davidson family heavily involved in the historic Formula Ford racing. The 36 car gets down. That's Jessica Bell. Jessica Bell driving the Reynard FF87 for the Davidson family. Of course, Lex Davidson's granddaughter and sons running this one. We've got son Chris, son Richard. Richard's the father of Will and Alex Davidson, V8 supercar superstars. And Chris's daughter Claire is also driving. This is a 29 car of Lyndon Tilbrook at the Elfin 3. It's the historic Formula Ford Association of Victoria. Very strong following at the moment, and a lot of guys, when these cars got 2 or 3 years old, they were uncompetitive anymore. They were sort of thrown away or put in the back of the sheds, and now they're being encouraged to get them out and use them. 13 seconds over the quarter mile is pretty good as well, so they're not slow at all. Back towards the start line now with the white cars coming at us. This one would be a Richard Davidson, I think. I'll check the number when it gets close. Who's our son of Lex Davidson. Yes, in fact, that is Richard Davison. So that there is Will and Alex Davidson's father behind the wheel of the little machine there, the number 40 car. That's a RF89 Van Diemen, one of the most successful Van Diemen chassis ever made, the RF89, taking up many Australian and European championships. We move now on to the Formula V, the Formula V 21200. Bob Jameson at the wheel. Small glitch in the matrix there as the car refusing to run as it should. Bit of a misfire there somewhere. Sound like it was a little bit lean to me.
Sounded lean, did it, Adrian?
Well, a bit of a lean pop sort of thing, like it was starving a bit for fuel, but it could have been a spark going astray. Next up, one of the Formula Fords, number 33. Got an idea. This is Claire Gregg. Was in fact Claire Gregg with a 12-second run, 12.67. Crikey, that is having a red-hot go. So Claire is the granddaughter of the great Lex Davison, and she's driving the FF84 Reynard at 12 seconds. That's stout. So Chris Davison aboard that machine there. Chris Davison driving the FF84 Reynard, and Chris also one of Lex Davison's son. So the Davisons heavily influenced in the historic Formula Ford Association and racing. The 271 car is Scott Blake, the double F84 Reynard as well. Once again, that is getting down the track here very quickly. That was Claire Davison, maybe C. Davison in that one. It was Chris Davison driving that machine. Someone put a set of puhas in the exhaust, I think. Next on the line, all the way from Tasmania, Steve Willing in the number 14 Formula Ford. Guy cut his teeth in go-kart racing in the early days and now resides in Victoria. Very neat little package he punts around in the Victorian historic Formula Ford racing. Second time down here at the Geelong Revival. Steve Willing down to the finish line. We should see that in around about the 12-second zone as well. A 13.4, so there you go.
No worries, man. That it? Someone come at me though. We're not 100% sure. We're not 100% sure if that's it for today, but we're going snapper fishing, and so yeah, keep your eyes peeled. There could be something come down the track, but we're going to see Barry Boat catch a snapper. Matter of fact. Is she over or not? Is she over or not? That guy right next to you, Bundy.
Yeah, too right. Thanks, fans. Don't forget to support those who support the sport you love. Tassie, and obviously we're back in 12 months' time.
Yep, see you all.